As much as I wish no one would ever go through this, it's real. This was SebastianRogers' mother talking about her reality of having a child who is missing. This was on Sebastian's 17th birthday on December 7th, 2025. Sebastian vanished whilst in his mother's care. Dog the Bounty Hunter released CCTV footage of Sebastian and his mother Katie Proudfoot having a meal at the Texas Roadhouse restaurant in Hendersonville, Tennessee on the evening of February 25th. They barely spoke a word. Sebastian, in my opinion, looked fearful. She talks of Sebastian maybe wanting to set up some kind of fund or scholarship for another child when he comes home. Let's pause and reflect for a moment. We are all different, I know, and it is not I who may be living through this trauma. I would be thinking of the possible PTSD my son may be living with and the complexities of what this actually means for Sebastian. Was he suffering from PTSD before he vanished in highly suspicious circumstances from a locked home, where law enforcement say there is no evidence he ever left the home? Did Sebastian even make it home from the restaurant? Let's talk about how safe Sebastian was at the home he shared with his mother and stepfather, Christopher Andrew Proudfoot, who was allegedly at work over 300 miles away that night. There were 5 CPS cases in less than 2 years. So was Sebastian already traumatized? In a recent photo, he appears to have bruising to his neck. I would be thinking about the trauma my son may still be living through since his disappearance. I would be wondering about the conditions my son may be living in right now. Who has him, and how is he being treated? I would be worried about what the many pages of confidential information Sebastian's therapist has, where they disclosed how he was basically ignored and not spoken to for almost 2 years at his home, about the disrespect and abuse Sebastian went through. We quite rightly do not know the content of the therapist's meeting, and we never should either. It is nobody's business but Sebastian's and his family's. I would be considering if my son would ever wish to be in my company again, let alone carry out other people's plans for helping another child. This can all possibly be considered at a much later date, if it is what Sebastian wishes and is capable of understanding what this will entail. Recovery from PTSD can take a lifetime, and often there is no happy ending if we are being realistic. Sebastian may be nothing like the child you remember, through no fault of his own. How about focusing on your own child and the lifetime of dedication and support he may need? Loving, caring, nurturing kindness to aid his recovery. Patience, lots and lots of patience. Listening, lots of times where you do nothing but listen so you know exactly what Sebastian will need from you and others. Will you be emotionally available to meet your child's needs? Were you available in the past? What if he never wants to set eyes on his stepfather again? A man who has admitted to physically abusing Sebastian. The abuse was on the outside of his trousers, he told people repetitively. What do statement analysts make of this, I wonder? Will you make it known to Sebastian he can choose the option of never having to see his stepfather again, and will you be supporting him through it safely? Also, your own parenting skills and making sure your son is never disrespected ever again. The silent treatment is a form of abuse. It pins you down and suffocates you. It is mental torture of the highest order. No wonder all Sebastian wanted was friends. Well, he most certainly has his wish now. There are thousands of us who fight for him daily and have since he vanished. We all watched the lack of positive interaction during your meal at the Texas Roadhouse. I recognized Sebastian's body language. It spoke volumes to me. When you treat a puppy badly, one day it is going to bite back. Sebastian looked like a cornered and frightened animal in his interactions with you. He was at the point where nothing he did was ever right, and he was failing to understand your rules in a cruel game which diminished him as a valued human being. He was worn down by it all, wasn't he? And the more lost he was, the further he slipped away from hope, and the more he was punished. Do you recognize this in yourself too? What might be the common denominator here? The following is something I read when I was still teaching. I have kept it all these years as it describes a stepfather of one of my pupils in the special needs school I taught at. He was a violent, manipulative man who should never have had the privilege of being in the child's life. He wore the child down to a shadow of the child he once was, to the point the child was incontinent in his company. Fear can do this to a child. A parent's love is so important to a child that withholding it can cause a failure to thrive condition similar to that of children who have been denied adequate nutrition. Let us have a listen to the silent treatment and the games narcissists play. Now imagine, please, you are a terrified autistic child who cannot comprehend the rules of these sick games. The silent narcissist. It's an anxious, something just ain't right feeling that far surpasses any feeling of discomfort you might experience in, say, a normal dysfunctional relationship. This feels very different, although you can't quite explain it. And when you bring this feeling to his attention, the narcissist, sociopath, or psychopath is instantly defensive, blaming you for being an insecure drama queen and making mountains out of molehills. Worse yet, you're starting to say nothing when he hurts you this way because, well, you're not sure why. All you know is that if you push the issue of his hurtful behavior in even the slightest way, he will most likely punish you by disappearing for a week or two, or maybe more. It's time to stop and recognize who and what you are dealing with. Passive-aggressive manipulation is often the most spirit-breaking kind of abuse, simply because it conducts itself in the background of your life all day, every day. Passive-aggressive behaviors are deliberate. Make no mistake about this fact. And the partner who inflicts this type of emotional manipulation for the sheer joy of seeing you suffer is the narcissistic partner. Make no mistake about this fact, and learn about the enemy.
1. Narcissists will invoke the silent treatment upon a partner for days, weeks, and even longer, often with no explanation, as a way to control and demoralize their victim. Narcissists are fond of using the silent treatment as a cruel and unusual punishment for doing nothing at all. And from experience, I can tell you that the affect of this method of control is sheer torture. My ex-N of 10 years executed a narcissistic silent treatment about every 3 weeks, and sometimes sooner, depending upon how, I'm guessing, his other sources of supply were faring. Each silent treatment would last anywhere from 2 to 3 days to 6 weeks to 6 months before he hoovered back, or before my begging at his door and endless onslaught of desperation letters forced him to give in. The silent treatment for my ex and for many others is a powerful narcissistic ploy and/or tactic, and it gets the point across. 2. No matter how he goes about it, or why it happens, or when it happens, the silent treatment always sucks. The fact that the victim of a narcissistic partner rarely knows why they are receiving the silent treatment only compounds the mental torture. I remember reading an article where the writer described the narcissist's silent treatment as particularly demoralizing, because the N is clearly making a statement, in unspoken terms, of course, that you, the recipient, aren't even worth acknowledging, aren't worth a moment of his time, that in fact you are a worthless piece of shit in the narcissist's eyes. How true that is. How long will the silent treatment last is always the big question. Will it go on for a day, a week, a month, or even longer? Not knowing when it ends is intended to invoke anxiety in the person on the receiving end, and it does. The longer it lasts, the worse the separation anxiety becomes, and the more likely you are to feel depressed, jealous, confused, isolated, unworthy, etc. The more desperation we feel, the harder it is to follow the no-contact rule and give up the need for closure. We become the puppet that he intended to create, and he becomes the narcissistic puppeteer. The silence is meant to hurt you. It is meant to teach you a lesson. And make no mistake, the silence is always a way for the narcissist to buy himself some free time for hustling up new sources of supply. 3. Most victims, like myself, will describe the days and weeks of silence as an agonizing torture that leaves us broken and desperate, willing to try anything and everything to get a response. If this means apologizing for the sole purpose of apologizing, even though we know have done nothing wrong, then so be it. When you're in the thick of it, the pain of the silence is far worse than the pain of being a doormat. Meanwhile, the narcissist goes on about her business until, for whatever reason, he feels his victim have been punished enough, or the girl he's seeing does something he doesn't like. When this happens, he will usually return offering no explanation, or at least no logical explanation, and he will expect to pick up right where he left off and as if he'd never been gone. So dismantled and dejected, the victim often demands no answers anyway, keeping her mouth shut and choosing instead to revel in the fact that her anxiety has passed. This particular response, by the way, is an intended result of the silent treatment so that the N gets away with the entire debacle. This is just another narcissistic strategy for managing down our expectations so that we expect less and less and he gets away with more and more. Understand that a partner using the silent treatment for any type of punishment, let alone one for a crime not committed, is not normal under any circumstances. When a narcissist uses the silent treatment, it is just one more requirement he has filled in the overall pathological relationship agenda. No one ever deserves to feel unworthy of attention or undeserving of love and loyalty. No one. Not even one time.
4. The narcissist puppeteer, creating your reality. The narcissist is a master puppeteer and you're the puppet. He basically creates your reality so that it suits his purpose. He trains you to do things his way and to feel the things he wants you to feel so that he can get away with whatever he wants. He manages down your expectations so that you expect less and he gets away with more. The narcissist isn't stupid enough to think that there won't be repercussions from his puppet, particularly in the very beginning, aka before you've been trained. For those times, he has passive-aggressive punishments in place that suit his purpose, such as disappearing or giving the silent treatment and cold shoulder. As you'll notice, all three of those punishments involve no accountability on his part, because for all intents and purposes, he simply stops speaking. The intention, of course, is that you, the puppet, will feel crushed and rejected and finally see the error of your ways. Ultimately, he'll never have to explain anything. The narcissist follows the order of a very pathological relationship agenda, where your suffering is his reward for a job well done. 5. The games narcissists play. I've decided to try to put together a list of games that narcissists play to help others recognize when they are being played. It is my hope that you can gather the tools and then the courage to stop playing with these evil narcissists. As yet, some don't have much description, but I will add to them as time permits. I suspect you'll recognize the games anyway, though. I've learned that they play the same games and use the same language, but the subtle language appears to be rather rote and common, which of course, if they knew you thought them to be boring, common, and average, would make them nuts.
Keep away. This is a game that you learn to play. They hate it. One of the most important things to recognize is that they will never cop to the fact that any games are being played, so it is up to you to stop playing. This means you don't try to bring up past stuff because you'll always be told you're wrong. They are right and you need help. You don't try to get them to acknowledge, let alone take responsibility for, their words or actions, because according to them, they didn't do it. Most of them literally cannot see what they're doing to you or will not see. They might, sort of, and quite grudgingly, appear to acknowledge that they've said or done bad things, but they'll never stop or change, unless they seek serious therapy, and most will not because nothing is wrong with them, you see. It's everyone around them. Yes, they might sort of acknowledge, but you will pay the price for your attempts at bringing the relationship into a healthy place. In their unconscious mind, they are dirty, evil, flawed, and horrible. They usually cannot acknowledge this fact, but are driven by a compulsion to make others feel the same way. They are filled with envy and rage, and trying to get them to acknowledge these facts will bring out a monster, with you being the victim they fully intend to eat. Remember, fake acknowledgement is only a way to keep you in the game. A support group or therapist is usually very helpful to those of us who choose to stop playing the games. Total NC no contact is the ultimate form of keep away and completely stops the games. But some people don't feel able to do that, and that's okay. We're each on our own journey and need to do the things that are the best for us in healing and learning self-care. If you are in a love relationship, you can walk away from the toxic narcissist in your life. If your boss is an abusive narcissist, you can find another job. You can walk away from your parents too, but you will get a different reaction about that from society, especially if you are a Christian. If you choose to stay, One way to stop playing their game is to not respond to jabs, barbs, pleas, put-downs, and the like. It's really hard to do, but think of it this way. If you're playing a game of catch with a ball, the only way to stop the game is not to catch the ball when thrown, or not pick up the ball and throw it back. Of course, in a normal game of catch, most people won't try to stab you to death if you want to stop, which a narc will do in some way or another. But it is possible to stop playing. Just be prepared for an onslaught of negativity, accusations, and histrionics. Ignoring them drives them nuts, but ignoring inciting words, keeping your mouth shut and not responding to inciting words, hanging up the phone, with proper notice such as, "I've got something I need to do," not slamming it down in fury, or leaving the location are all ways for you to refuse to catch the ball, or put the ball down, choose not to throw it back. This is keep away. You stay away, walk away, and refuse to play. You do not have the power to change them, but you can walk away from the games. You have the power to stop playing. The scissors to cut the apron strings are scissors you own, not the dull pair that don't cut, the ones that your narc mom owns. Daddy's toxic lap is one you can choose to step down from. If your spouse wants to play, you can choose not to. Lay down the ball, walk away, and enjoy the temporary rest. I say temporary because they will be back to play another day. They want their dose of narcissistic supply from you and feel eternally entitled to it. Only you can withhold that. They will do everything in their power to tell you that you do not have the right to stop playing. Only you can stop playing because they won't. Never, ever. You are the only one in the game who can play keep away.
Crazy eights. I think it's their favorite. You are crazy anytime you try to confront them, talk of past issues or behaviors, bust them in the middle of doing something awful, or just when they feel like being complete pukes. The game sounds like this. You are told that you have a very vivid imagination, that you don't know what you're talking about, that they have no idea what you're talking about, or that you're simply making things up to hurt them or cause problems. Because, you see, it's obvious that you are crazy. Just ask them. They'll tell you, and tell you that everyone around you agrees with them that you are crazy. They will claim not to remember even very memorable events, flatly denying they ever happened, nor will they ever acknowledge any possibility that they might have forgotten. This is an extremely aggressive and exceptionally infuriating tactic called gaslighting, common to abusers of all kinds. Your perceptions of reality are continually undermined, so that you end up without any confidence in your intuition, your memory, or your powers of reasoning. This makes you a much better victim for the abuser. You'll hear words and phrases like, "You just took it wrong," or "You always take everything I say out of context," or "Why do you always have to live in the past? Why can't you move on like normal people? Maybe you need to see a therapist." Or, "You're remembering wrong, it didn't happen that way." Or, "I swear I am constantly walking on eggshells with you. You are so oversensitive." Or, "You're crazy if you think." "You're just imagining things. You are so oversensitive." Or maybe you should see a therapist. "I've tried and tried to help you, but you just don't seem to want my help. We really need to move on. This isn't healthy for you." Or, "I was there, and you are over-dramatizing the situation. It did not happen that way." Or, "Just ask so-and-so, they'll back me up. You are wrong." Or, "No one else in the family feels the way you do about this, so you need to just think about that, about what you're doing to us all with this constant drama and trauma. Maybe you should see a therapist." Get the drift? Basically, you are wrong. Your perceptions are wrong. Your memories are wrong. Any bad memories you have are imaginary. You need help. They're only trying to help you. No one in the family agrees with you, and so on. You'll also hear words like always, never, ever, constantly, forever, and other dramatic ways of expression such as, "You always try to make me feel bad. I can't change the past, so why do you have to constantly bring this stuff up?" Or, "You never seem to be able to." Or, "Why are you forever doing or saying?" Or, "I never did any such thing. You're just making that up to hurt me." Whatever it is that you are always, constantly, or forever doing usually has to do with you trying to get them to understand and take responsibility for their part in it. Whatever it is that you never do most likely has to do with refusing to play their game. you never give me the benefit of the doubt. Or, you never give me credit for all my hard work. Or, why can't you ever see my point of view? Why does everything have to be about you? This one is one of my favorites, because if you've gotten them to that point of frustration by having the bad taste to bring up their bad behavior, their mask will slip. The one thing they hate is something not being about them. As long as they can be the wonderful one, of course. Anything bad about them simply does not exist, and you are crazy to think otherwise.
Death by 1,000 cuts. This is a really fun game all narcissists like to play. It involves shredding your soul, your ego, your accomplishments, and any belief system you have that does not agree with theirs. The way the game is won is for them to try to turn absolutely everything about you and everything you do into a complete failure. Extra points are given when they can take all credit for anything good that has ever happened and put it all in their pot. There are double extra points when they manage to put all blame for anything bad onto the other players. The pity party. I read on another blog about the pity party and they added, longest party ever. I laughed and promptly adopted it. It's so true for all victims. The neediness of a narcissist seems bottomless, does it not? Sheesh, they are so boring and their parties suck. 21. In this popular game, you are not allowed to ever reach 21. Even if you are 50 years old, you will still be treated like a child, a stupid child, a bad child, a silly child, etc. You don't get to have face cards, and if you get an ace, it's only worth 1 point. The King-Queen game. The most important part to remember about this game is that no one can know the rules except the king or queen. Either the king or queen gets to make up rules as they go along. They don't have to tell the other players and can change the rules whenever it suits them. They are, after all, the king-queen, and therefore always win the game too, even when you play fairly by that day's rules. You can be penalized for breaking the rules, even if they choose not to tell you the rules. Spite and malice. This is a kind of competitive patience solitaire game for 2 players. It is also known as cat and mouse. The cards are arranged from low to high, with the kings being wild. Suits, normal order of things, and/or common societal rules are irrelevant in the game. The game ends when someone wins by playing the last card of their payoff pile. The game can also end if the players run out of cards, in which case the result is a draw. This is one my son found for me on the internet when we were talking about this post, and the analogies are numerous and fun. Spite and malice, or cat and mouse, is a perfect game for a narcissist because 1, it is actually a form of solitaire. 2, it requires one-upmanship and pulling out better cards to beat the other player with. Oh, how many times have you experienced this game, dear one? It involves a payoff, and for the narc, that usually means hurting you somehow. They keep track of real or imaginary things you do, have done, or might do. This is their pile, and they nurture it, obsess over it, and dump it on you whenever possible.
Liar's poker. All people with narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, play this game superbly. They are consummate liars. Their entire persona, their world, and their very selves are completely based in lies. They are truly empty shells in most respects, except what is in the shell is truly evil, toxic, and ugly. The good stuff is all made up in order to get other people to give them praise, worship, adoration, and accolades, their much-needed narcissistic supply, their daily dose of fresh blood that keeps them going. Of course, other people have to bleed for them to feed, but who cares? They don't. The devil is a liar, and narcissists are his beloved evil children. 6. Trauma bonding and the narcissist. No one does it better. Feeling attached to a narcissist or sociopath, even though he treats us badly, is a constant source of angst for those in recovery from toxic relationships. Victims want to know why. Why can't I just let go of this guy? Why can't I move on? Why am I obsessed with no closure? Why do I feel so connected to someone who feels no connection to me? One logical answer to this is that we're normal, and they're not, and normal people want to fix things that are broken so that they work again. The problem, of course, is a narcissist can't be fixed because he never was right to begin with. In essence, the narcissist isn't really broken at all. He simply is what he is, and what he is no good. This being true, what do we do after a discard, when we can't shake the feeling of being only half a person without him? of feeling utterly attached even when we're apart, and even when he's with someone else. Why can't we disconnect from the bad man? Well, there is an answer to this for those who seek a deeper psychological reason for the suffering, and it's a condition often referred to as trauma bonding.
Imagine if these were the kind of mental obstacle courses Sebastian had to try and navigate on a daily basis. Is it any wonder he looked like a broken soul in the Texas Roadhouse footage? When you look at all the evidence which has been gathered over the last 22 months, when you listen to the pure filth that has come out of the stepfather's mouth, one has to ask how Sebastian was supposed to survive and thrive in such a toxic, abusive environment. Where is SebastianRogers today? I believe if Faith Sebastian's stepsister did not exist and is living with her mom and family in New Mexico, I believe Sebastian would still be at home. In my opinion only, and I'm not pointing the finger at anyone in particular, I believe the extended family are involved in Sebastian's disappearance or removal. I believe when Sebastian's mom stood in the lounge window in the dark on the night he vanished, I believe she either knew her son was leaving that night or he had already left. Whatever happened, it is my belief, based on the huge amount of red flags, that the family planned the disappearance. When Peter Hyatt, statement analyst, said Katie didn't know where her son was, I believe him, but I also believe someone in that family does know. What do you think? If and when Sebastian returns, should he be forced to go back to living in such a toxic environment? Do you think he would want to? Thank you for listening. The author of The Silent Treatment and the games Narcissists play is author unknown.